What are we doing here, people? You know, I have a calendar of videos that I'm supposed to be working on at the moment, but apparently that's all out of the window because Oscar discourse is upon us, and heaven forbid we have normal conversations about movies on the internet. So first off, let's get a few things out of the way. Are the Oscars important? And a lot of people will dismiss criticism of the Oscars as inevitable based on the way the nominations usually go. And they're not wrong. The process of nominating a movie is inherently political and biased, and there are numerous actors who will lobby and use their influence to get certain films nominated or even get them awards. They are undeniably imperfect, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try to improve them. They remain the biggest award a movie can win, and being nominated for one or winning one demonstrably improves both the fortunes of the movie and the people who make it. So that's point one. Are the Oscars for normal people? This idea has been around for years now, and it's always kind of difficult to nail down because the idea of what constitutes a normal moviegoer changes so frequently. But I think given the backlash the Academy has recently received for not having popular movies in its biggest categories, we should cut them some slack for not fucking up the incredibly straightforward process of making sure that both Barbie and Oppenheimer were well represented this year. So that's point two. With that out of the way, I'm going to start this video with a statement. We should be nominating more women in film for awards. They make up half the population, the maths checks out. They might not make up half of the population of the film industry, but the only way to address that balance is by giving people inspiring examples of female success in the industry to look up to. If you are coming to this Barbie discourse and you disagree with that statement, I'm going to go ahead and say the rest of this video probably isn't for you. Now, the main thrust of this public outcry around the Barbie Oscar nominations seems to be threefold. First, that in making a movie about how a woman must work harder than a man to achieve the same level of success, it's ironic that Greta Gerwig hasn't been recognised for the Best Director category. Second, that Margot Robbie deserved a Best Actress nomination. And the third thrust, which is really more of a sub-thrust of the second thrust, is that Ryan Gosling being nominated for the Best Supporting Actor category is an example of the chauvinism of the Academy, that a man is able to gain a nomination while a woman who is arguably more deserving or equally deserving is quote-unquote snubbed in her category. I want to split these arguments up again, because to my mind there are two arguments here, an okay one and a bad one. Let's deal with the okay one first. Should Greta Gerwig have been nominated for Best Director? Well, at a glance, the answer to that seems relatively simple. There's one woman in that list, Justine Triet for Academy of a Fall, and the rest are men. If we're committed to the idea of forcing change in the movie industry by focusing on awarding women for their work, then some of those men are going to have to make way. I know that idea pinches a bit for some people, but change isn't always comfortable. All of these men deserve to be there. Scorsese, Nolan, Lanthimos, Glazer, they all made good movies this year. This isn't a case of there being an obvious outlier in this list that we could easily exclude. So, unfortunately, the process of dropping one seems to be just a popularity contest. Glazer, you're out, buddy. Sorry. But here's where we hit a problem. The wrinkle that makes this argument only okay instead of good. Does Greta Gerwig deserve to be in this list over other women? How many movies from female directors did the people asking for her to be included actually see? I'm stopping just short of calling this argument bad faith, but it does seem like most of the people pushing for this have only watched a few movies this year and are potentially using feminism as a shield to push for their favourite movie to get some more recognition. To my mind, there are a lot of female directors who could be included in this list, and none of them are Greta Gerwig. Now, I want to be clear here, I like Barbie, it's a fun movie, and I love a lot of Gerwig's work, but I don't think Barbie was anywhere near her best. Nor is it near the quality of War Pony, Are You There God, It's Me Margaret, Rye Lane, or Past Lives, all of which are movies by female directors. People aren't pushing for these women to be included in that list, and there's a strong argument that many of them should be. And that's where the idea of this being a broadly feminist argument breaks down for me. Because people don't seem to be asking for more female representation on the Best Directors list. They're specifically asking for Barbie to be represented. So this movie isn't only being held against male-led movies, it's silencing discourse about the work of other women. I understand that weighing into this debate as a cisgendered, heterosexual white guy is immediately not a great look, as is telling women how to do feminism correctly, which is why I want to make clear that that's not my intention. If Barbie profoundly affected the way you view a woman's place in the world, then more power to you. I love when people are passionate about movies. But this outcry has become about making sure one movie gets its credit to the expense of every other movie that came out this year, including many excellent movies made by women. Does Gerwig deserve a spot on the Best Directors list? Sure. I think she did a really good job with Barbie, and in an alternate universe, she wouldn't look out of place on it. But in this reality, where the internet is currently awash with accusations of sexism and bizarre apples to oranges comparisons of awards, if we're arbitrarily taking Glazer out of that list for a woman, then Gerwig isn't who I would choose. And that brings me, creakingly, onto the second argument, the bad one. The one where Margot Robbie should get a Best Actress nomination. And again, I don't want to criticise people for good work. Gerwig did a fine job as director, and Robbie's performance was really good as Barbie. But the idea that Robbie not being included over a bunch of incredible female performances could somehow be construed as sexism is puzzling. I don't really see how that works. Some people have pointed out Gosling being nominated for Best Supporting Actor as clarification for this argument, but that just provokes more questions to me. Why does Gosling being nominated in a far weaker field mean that Robbie should be nominated in a far stronger one? Not to mention that I'm quite certain that both Gerwig and Robbie would rather Gosling, and by extension Barbie, be nominated for an Oscar in that category than not. But all of this is kind of missing the point here too. Arguing that Robbie should be included in the Best Actress list is all fine and good, but who's coming off the list to make way? Sandra Hüller, who has been winning plaudits for her performance for the last 6 months in Anatomy of a Fall. Emma Stone, who many people are saying has delivered a career best performance in Poor Things. Which woman is being sacrificed on the altar of Barbie here? And I can certainly tell you one woman whose phenomenal achievement has been completely overshadowed by the monolithic Barbie discourse, and that's Lily Gladstone. A woman whose breathtaking performance in Killers of the Flower Moon has her positioned as possibly the first Native American woman to ever win the Best Actress Oscar. But we're not talking about her, we're talking about Barbie, because it got snubbed. This is where it becomes very difficult to view this online discourse with anything but extreme skepticism. So enthusiastic are its proponents, the proponents of Barbie, that in clamouring to champion that movie, they are trampling on other women. And a lot of this is just the often toxic media cycle at work. Someone said something vaguely controversial, it blew up, now everyone with a Twitter account or a website needs to be writing about it to get views. And the hypocrisy of saying that as a YouTuber is not lost on me, believe me. And to some extent, the best way to deal with these kind of social uproars is just to let them burn themselves out. Eventually, the more reactionary proponents of them will go do something else, and you'll be left with the people who love Barbie and are disappointed it didn't get more nominations. And that's a far more reasonable stance that I think a lot of us can empathise with. But Barbie's success and the zeitgeist that surrounds it is so close to being something positive that I feel like we can't really ignore it this time. It would take just a nudge in the right direction for all of this discourse to shift from we should nominate Barbie for more things to we should nominate more women, and then we're getting somewhere. The last thing I want to say, and maybe it's too late at this point, but I'll say it anyway, is that if you love something, it's okay to want to see it rewarded. No one should judge you for wishing that a movie wins Best Picture, or for feeling sad that a performance that you thought was great didn't get a nomination. The Oscars are important. Recognising great art is important, and championing the stuff you love is important. But we can love things without harming other people, and thus far, that's all the Barbie discourse seems to be doing.